budget.
See, the issue of politicians and the voters, the behavior of politicians and the voters. For both politicians as well as the voter, I think it is not conviction anymore, it is convenience. So they are saying that, how do you give me the convenience of giving me a float? As far as I am concerned, we are having the carnival on the theme of saving the coconut tree. Now, I don't get money saving the coconut tree. So the issue is, our theme is saving the coconut tree. Now we are trying to make a political statement with this. But I don't believe that just because the voters' demands are disproportionate, our politics is bad. That is not the only reason. Our politics can be bad because the government is in the clutches of unhealthy lobbies. It can be, I'm not saying lobby means, let's say the Chamber of Commerce of Goa is the business lobby of Goa. We should be talking to the Chamber of Commerce and perhaps deciding policies which benefit Goan businessmen. So we need to have a holy nexus of politicians and the people rather than an unholy nexus of politicians with the unhealthy lobbies. Now, sometimes Ricardo spoke about accountability. Now, you know, decisions are not only taken in Delhi here. Decisions can be taken in Nagpur. Or decisions can be taken in Gujarat. Like you see the Amul dairy coming here at the cost of the Goan dairy. And the Goan dairy is controlled by the same people. So, and here is a organization which doesn't meet the people, which says this is our rule. And then everybody in the house, now you have a minister for forest, who is also a pracharak, who is saying no, nothing doing, that decision is taken once and for all. So when you have such type of issues that plague the state, I think we need to look at Goa, especially because we are talking on the anniversary of the opinion poll day. Mr. Jaspal said that, you know, ours was the last plebiscite. We are talking on the basis of needing another plebiscite, whether it was worth it having the opinion poll and winning it. I think people have started thinking about that now. You know, we had a distinct identity. We talked about preserving our identity, our Goinkarpan and everything, which is now all for sale. It's like on a fast track sale, you know, like this Flipkart sales and all. So this is the last year. We have to fight an election. We means the ruling party, not me. So therefore, everything is for sale. The forests are for sale, the rivers are for sale, everything and anything is for sale. Now the point is, you are selling it to whom? You are selling it to lobbies which are not from the state, which are not accountable to the state and which don't care a damn about the state or its identity or its ethos. That's the problem. So I think if we today pledge, the people of Goa pledge, to have a very regional outlook with a local sentiment, that solves many problems. Our problems begin either when the decisions are taken in Delhi or they are taken either in Gujarat or Nagpur. So I think this should be the promise that we should do to ourselves now.
So I have time to take 4 questions. So questions.
Hi, my name is Rahul Basu. I had a couple of questions. First is, you know, we've been talking about whether it's the politicians or the people or is it both. To me, it really seems like, you know, when you have multiple politicians coming and we get the same result, it's probably the system that isn't working. We've talked about the need for referendums. We've talked about the need for participatory democracy. We haven't talked about participatory budgeting. Kerala, for instance, has a law which says that every new law, rule or regulation has to go into a public discussion before we actually, you know, pass it. So you cannot do anything. So one question I had was, what are the proposals for reforming the system, not reforming the people or the politicians? Couple of observations really, but I just want to leave them with you all. Firstly, there is a theory right now which basically states that the reason that the West has what they call liberal democracy as opposed to illiberal democracy like in India or Pakistan, which is democracy in name but actually not, is that in the West, the politicians were forced to tax the people, and as a quid pro quo for the taxation. They had to deliver governance because nobody was willing to pay tax out here. We see the obvious issue in Goa where most of the money is coming from essentially sale of a natural resource in one way or the other. So is that a point to actually think about improving governance by stopping some of these things, therefore reducing corruption? The other point I had was, if you look at India versus China over the last 2000 years, China has had a history of the bureaucracy being selected through a public exam. If you go back to the history of 2000 years in Indian governance, there is records that from about the Gupta times, Indian governments have been selling off government posts. So you could buy the post of the law officer or the collector or whatever they were called 2000 years ago. So our system is embedded with the concept of the sale of a government post. And if you have such an embedded system, can trust ever come?
No, the main question is, can we at least attempt to reform the system rather than reforming the politicians and people?
No. See, I believe that we have enough laws, which if implemented, we can bring a semblance of order, even in Goa. We have laws in place which can tackle many things, but those laws are not being implemented. We have the 73rd and the 74th constitutional amendment. Who is implementing them? Our ex-chief minister has called those Gram Sabhas as, he has basically mocked at the Gram Sabhas. He says people come with chairs and it's like a free-for-all. So when you mock at representative democracy, when the laws are in place, you have constitutional amendments which empower the people as well as the politicians, force the politicians to go to the people before taking major decisions. I think those are good enough. But simple things, in the Goan way of doing it, is that you can sit even in a tavern and do the right decisions. If you tell the people that you are going to come there. See, in my constituency, I have something called the Sunday dialogues. I take most of the officers who are, with the concerned with the decision making. I bring them after the Sunday mass in a public place and call the people of that ward and the ward councillor and everyone and say, this is like a open forum. And we get our issues resolved. Any issue and every issue. So I think Goa is small, we can run it that way. But the problem is when outside unhealthy lobbies enter in. So you are the green lobby today. Let's presume that you are also a lobby. Mr. Cloud Alvarez could be taken as a lobby. There's nothing bad in calling them a lobby. And we talk to the green lobby. The Chamber of Commerce could be looked upon as a lobby and we talk to them also. Because eventually we can't be anti-business also. If you're going to be anti-business, then you're not going to get elected. People are going to say you are a communist. Like the color that you're wearing, they say you are a revolutionary, you are out, you are an anarchist. So it's unfortunate that people have even had to say, because of their ongoing anarchy, that I am an anarchist. People have said that they even become chief ministers, so there's no issue of that.
Yeah, next question.
Hello, I'm Rohan. I have a question based on personal opinion and observation. I've noticed that by the end of 3 years, people are totally fed up of any government, any party it could be. So, would this change if we have elections every 3 years instead of 5?
Why would you like to answer that?
My goodness, people will say, come and bring it down to 1 year. But there's a demand already that should be 7 years. Ministers say they have not made enough in 5 years. And no project really gets off the table, drawing table, in the first 2 or 3 years. They start somewhere in the 4th year. And then they say we have to complete and therefore elect us again. That's the
the thing is, if it is just a 3-year government, it will run very fast. You guys will have no time to even know what is happening. 5 years is a good time. It's only the last 1 year is the difficult one when they start passing laws and you can. I found Mr. Wagh's suggestion about the questions how things impact on the rights of the people or their interests. It should be brought. The government should bring it to like a referendum. It is not something just solely should be passed by the government or MLAs have a right. But if a larger question of economic interest that affects everyone, then a referendum or it'll curtail the activism, as Mr. Wagh was.
Next question.
If the elections are held in 3 years instead of 5 years, whatever mullah is collected has to be collected in 3 years. And that will be more pressure. The MLA will be under more pressure. Well, that's what I feel. And my question is also regarding the similar subject. As Mr. Acharya said, MLAs are under tremendous pressure because there are outflow of about 50,000 or something per day. So imagine for 5 years it will be how much? And my question is, in spite of all this expenditure, the MLA again and again stands for election and opts for getting elected by hook or crook. That means the business of politics is very lucrative. It is just a business. It is not politics. It is not social service. Somebody wants to answer, may answer, otherwise may not.
Even people are not considering it as social service. Even your voters are not considering it as social service. So as Vijay very nicely put it, rather than having an unholy nexus between government and lobbyists, let's have a holy nexus between politicians and people. So that's the way he's putting it, considering the present realistic scenario.